Margaret Ceann Comhairle, and I just want to welcome the Minister. Welcome to the club. Sometimes you'll get an easy ride and others you won't. Minister, as the Ceann Comhairle said, it's an issue that was only brought to me yesterday, or late last night actually, that what we call, what is known in East Cork as the CYDS, the Client Diocese and Youth Services in Carricktool, is facing closure because of lack of funding. And from the information that I've received, that this, it's a youth cafe that will close possibly by the 22nd of July. And again, unfortunately, it's down to funding. In my conversations with the coordinator of the area and also with the parents and a couple of young kids that use the services, it really got me worrying last night for the fact that it has done so much fabulous work in the area in its short time. It has got a massive buy-in from the local community, but it has only been supported by a one-off philanthropy grant and the St. Vincent de Paul and a local priest, parish priest. Now, we've listened at the moment about, we had Brexit, now we seem to be blaming COVID for everything. But I've raised it in my, I suppose, latter capacity as mental health spokesperson. These young kids now are very, very vulnerable. We've had ongoing issues with new schools in Carricktool as well. So the kids don't know where they're going in September to school. Now, if you're not sports-minded, you have no other outlook in the area. And the kids are genuinely, worried about this. We have a lot, as I said, sports clubs all over East Cork, and I thank them for the involvement in the community, because it is another outlook, to provide positive mental health. We also have the East Cork Music Project. But while we have all these great things, we will have no security or stability for these young children in a couple of weeks. The parents are hitting the same. They're very, very extremely stressed. And the bigger picture here in East Cork, if you're not familiar with East Cork, it covers a massive spans of stuff. But CDYS also offer therapeutic services for children and young people in Mallow, Charleville, Mitchellstown. The CCA, another vital service here, that offers the play therapy, art therapy, counselling, community psychotherapy, and all this could fall down. Now, my biggest fear is here is, I'm hoping that you will take it as an empathetic way that I'm speaking to you and an honest way, because these are genuine concerns. I'm hoping I won't get the standard letter thing. What I'm trying to get from you and obtain from you, ministers, is there a possibility that we can keep these vital services open? And if not, I will come back to you in 2 minutes and I explain why it's so important here, because there's an old saying, where there's an action, there's an instant reaction. We are not a proactive society, we are a reactive society, and if this service is closed, there's going to be a domino effect, and the biggest problem we'll be seeing here is young people that will not be going back to school, even if they do have a school in September, because they won't be alive, because their mental health will be so tarnished here that unfortunately we're going to have issues bigger than what we're dealing with now. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Buckley. Now, Minister Roderick O'Gorman, congratulations, Minister, on your appointment. We all wish you well in your brief, and we're grateful to you for being here today to take this important matter.
Thank you very much, Ceann Comhairle, and thank you for your kind words there, and also to Deputy Buckley, thank you for your own kind words, and I look forward to working closely with all members of the House in this new role. I want to assure the Deputy of my commitment to young people and the youth sector that provides such critical support to them, and thanks again to the Deputy for raising this important issue. Just as a general point, I'm pleased to note that funding to the youth sector has been protected through the recent period of extraordinary challenge, and this has enabled the youth sector to continue to provide support to young people, particularly marginalised, vulnerable and disadvantaged young people during the COVID-19 crisis. In the 2020 budget, my department was allocated 61.8 million in funding to support the provision of youth services nationwide, including UBU, which is the Your Place, Your Space strategy, which opened in July the 1st. And this new funding scheme provides 39 million annually to youth services, supporting people between the age of 10 and 24 years, again, who are vulnerable, disadvantaged or marginalised. And the first cycle of this scheme runs to December 2023. My department also runs a more universally focused scheme looking at volunteer-led youth work through the Youth Services Grant, and we also have some other funding schemes including the Youth Capital Fund and the new Youth Climate Justice Fund. And obviously, look, we're facing challenging times, and I'm sure the Deputy and everyone understands we have to look after the resources that we have and use them well. But in respect of this year and the present circumstances, the work of youth services across the country is both necessary, but it's essential, and funding levels have been maintained on that basis. And with regards to the future, it would certainly be my wish that funding for this sector is maintained and indeed increased, and I'll be advocating that within each successive budgetary process. With respect to the Deputy's specific issue, I've been in contact with my officials on this, and while my department doesn't currently fund any youth services in Carrigtwohill, it does fund 4 Cloyne Diocesan Youth Service projects to a total of almost €300,000 in this year. And the Education Training Boards have a specific role in acting as a funding and governance intermediary for my department in the area of youth funding. And this role is underpinned by a local area needs assessment that's conducted by the ETB in conjunction with youth services in the area. And look, Deputy, I suppose you mentioned you'd only heard about this last night. Well, my department only heard about this particular issue today, and I suppose I would urge the service to engage with the ETB in the first instance, because any issues relating to requirements for additional funding should go through the relevant ETB, and they can look at the overall options in place, and they are the conduit for the funding that my department provides. Look, the Deputy, you'll be aware, and others will be aware, that the youth sector has responded extremely quickly to the current crisis. It's adapted, it's been very innovative, and as a sector, it didn't close. And because of that proactive and innovative approach that it adopted, it was able to support many vulnerable people through the current crisis. And I think it's also worth noting that many youth workers and volunteers were redeployed in other sectors to help with the COVID-19 crisis. And I just want to recognise, I want to acknowledge the work that people in the youth work sector undertook during this under this particular crisis. So my department are looking at a number of wider schemes to ascertain the impact of the COVID crisis on young people, and particularly we've undertaken a consultation, How's Your Head? Youth Voices during COVID-19, to get a bigger understanding of the impacts, like Deputy Buckley referred to, that have impacted on young people during the current crisis.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Buckley.
Thank you, Ciarán Comhairle, and thank you, Minister, for your reply. See, this is what I started off with. You'll get to know me. I'm fairly straightforward talking. I don't mess around with, you know, the politeness of stuff when it doesn't need to be there. You mentioned in your answer about assessments and the ETB and so on and so forth. Here's our first hurdle. How do we go about it when we have COVID? COVID comes back into it, we'll blame COVID. I can understand it is short notice, and so it is for me. But there's a bigger picture here, even in your capacity as a minister. What do I say, and this is why I raised it today, Ciarán Comhairle, what do I tell the people of Carrigtwohill, or the wider area of East Cork, and the Cloyne Diocese, and the services, and the service providers, and the users, about what's going to happen with this cafe? Is there going to be a ripple effect? Is there going to be more red tape and COVID masking that will come to a point that we'll lose the service, and we'll have a void, and we'll be back here, and I'll be back here with you saying, right, or maybe not, mightn't be you, it might be the health minister, saying that unfortunately in this area we've got another cluster of youth suicides, and why is it happening? And we'll be back here saying, sure, there was a youth service there, it's gone. I remember such and such bringing it up. It didn't cost that much, and you mentioned it, the 300,000 figure. East Cork is a massive spanced area, and the amount of work and the amount of voluntary work that goes into it for that amount of money is extremely cheap. I'm appealing to you tonight on behalf of anybody that needs youth services. We start from the bottom up, not from the top down, and nurture our children now and educate them and give them the support and security. I would appeal to you, and I will actually contact our office directly over the weekend, but obviously it'll be Monday before you get it. I would even love to sit down and just say, just can we do something to keep these services over until the people involved will have the opportunity to be able to tick all those boxes, and how we'll be able to jump over a couple of fences to get rid of the COVID barriers, because it's not going to happen overnight. And I appeal to you, please, Minister, just to give me the commitment that we'll keep it open. Thank you.
Minister, please, to conclude.
Thank you, Deputy Buckley. I like to think I'm a fairly straight talker myself as well, and that's why when I come in here, again, on the basis of information that my officials are just gathering, I can't just come out and say straight. I would love to be in the position to say absolutely 100% we'll keep it open. I can't do that. I think it would be unfair for me to you, but more importantly to the people who are using those services. I don't know, I know you're on Cork County Council. I don't know if you were on the ETB itself. I was on our local ETB in County Dublin, and I know the huge work they did in supporting youth services. I know the absolute fundamental importance of youth services. But the work that the ETB did in assessing the needs in the particular area and directing funding to where it's necessary. My understanding is from my officials that there's about a €35,000 shortfall here. It's not a huge amount of money, absolutely not. So I suppose what I'm asking you is to convey to the service to get onto the ETB as quickly as possible. I'll also engage with my officials. I will seek to ascertain what exactly are the steps that need to be taken, and if you want to get in touch with my department, I'm very happy to assist in any way I can. I would like to see this kept open. I understand the importance it has for your area. I just don't want to make a rash commitment now that I can't actually back up. So look, we'll continue to engage on this.